Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another exciting edition of Free Advice Friday. Looks like there's a bunch of you already hanging out. Hello from Amsterdam, says Bev Standing. What is going on in Amsterdam other than I see that you are out? I guess it's a JMC retreat, isn't it? That's what's going on? Everybody's hanging out at the JMC Euro retreat. So that's fun. That's cool. And thank you for watching live from Amsterdam as Free Advice Friday goes global. Par 513, I will be listening in as I'm editing an audiobook right now. Hey, if you can listen to Free Advice Friday and edit an audiobook at the same time, then I commend you for your special skills. I can't do, when I'm editing, I can't do anything else. I'm a multitasker when if I'm working on a website or working on some social media content or things like that. I've always got a show on or something like that I'm watching or listening to kind of at the side of my head. But man, when I'm editing, I can't focus on anything else. Otherwise, I'd probably screw something up, cut the wrong part of the audio out or something like that. But hey, looking forward to spending some time with you guys today. Looking forward to answering some questions for Free Advice Friday. For those of you that are not familiar with Free Advice Friday, this is maybe the first time that you've jumped in on the broadcast. It's a very, very complicated thing that we've got going on here. I come on YouTube and I give out advice for free on a Friday. There you go. That's it. So if you've got voiceover business and marketing questions that you would like to get answered, this is your opportunity to get those voiceover business and marketing questions answered. Very simple procedure here. If you've got a question that you would like to ask, feel free to type it into the comments. Put a Q beside it if you can, please. That way it's easier for me to find it. It stands out more in the comment stream that is feverishly flying by as I'm trying to do the live stream here. So don't be shy. Feel free to type those questions, and I am happy to answer whatever I can. So let's see what's going on. Dave says, hey, Mark, love the podcast. Listened to it for 8 hours driving from Ottawa to Pittsburgh yesterday. Holy mackerel. You know, that's when I listened to Tim Ferriss's podcast. I don't know if any of you guys are a fan of the Tim Ferriss show or not. I absolutely love listening to Tim Ferriss. The problem with his podcast, some of the episodes are like 2.5 hours long, and I don't hardly ever have 2.5 hours of continuous available time to sit and listen to an interview. But when we drive up north to visit my wife's family, that's like an 8 or 9 hour day in the car. And usually we leave about 4 o'clock in the morning. So my kids are still asleep. And so that's my favorite time to flip on Tim Ferriss podcasts or anytime I got to drive somewhere and listen. So thank you for taking me in the car with you. And hopefully you learned a bunch of stuff as you were listening to all of those different episodes. I've had a lot of really interesting feedback off of the latest episode of the podcast, which if you haven't checked it out yet, it was a good one, or at least I like to think that it was a good one. 5 things to understand about email marketing. This was an episode that was inspired by so many of the recent coaching sessions that I've done. I can't believe how much voice actors get hung up on the concept of email marketing. And some of those hangups really keep VOs from doing the thing when it comes to email marketing. And so I really just wanted to dive into that and address it head on of some of the common, I would say, I don't want to say myths because I don't necessarily think they're myths. They're very real challenges that voice actors face. They're very real fears that voice actors are trying to deal with as well. But I wanted to address some of those things right head on. And so that's what's up with the latest episode of the podcast. Of course, that's available wherever fine podcasts are given away for free, or head over to the website at VOpreneur.com. And you can download that episode and get some of those tips for email marketing. I think probably the one that I've had the most feedback on, both through social media and through people responding directly into my inbox, is on this idea that if they don't want to hear from you, they will unsubscribe. And one of the common pushbacks that I got is from people who say, but I am on email lists that I don't want to unsubscribe from because I don't want the person to know I unsubscribed, or I don't want to make them feel bad. Well, let me tell you something. That's their problem, not your problem. You cannot control external circumstances like that. And so you cannot let external circumstances like that dictate how you operate your business. So if one of the reasons why you are afraid to send emails is because you're worried that the recipient on the other side doesn't actually want to get them, but they're not willing to unsubscribe, you can't run your business that way. You cannot run your business that way. You can't let that factor in to your decision-making process. If they don't want to hear from you, then they have to make the decision that they'll unsubscribe or not unsubscribe. You can't control that. And by the way, if they unsubscribe, that's perfectly okay. That's somebody who was probably never going to do business with you anyway, so don't sweat it. Don't sweat it, but don't let things like that impact your decision making when it comes to, am I going to send out emails, marketing emails or not? You can't let something like that factor in. Hello from Laurel, Maryland, close to Washington, D.C. It's been a long time since I was able to join you live. So excited. Well, thank you so much for joining Elevated. I will be in that area for the MAVO conference coming up in November. Super excited to be going back to MAVO. I love that conference. I love what Val Kelly does with that conference, and it's going to be really fun. Plus, I just love touring around the D.C. area. There's so many things to see and so many things to do. So again, if you've got a question that you would like to ask for Free Advice Friday, feel free to type it into the comments. Again, just put a Q beside your comment, and that way it will pop out on my screen, and it just makes it a little bit easier for me to find it and to be able to answer those questions. So let's see. Steven says, it seems the ROI on P2P is very, very low. Would it be a better investment to pay for training rather than a P2P fee? Here's the challenge with pay-to-plays. There's a couple of different things that you need to understand about pay-to-plays. First and foremost, everybody and their grandma is on the pay-to-plays, which immediately means that your competition level goes like this. That's why you'll notice that when you go to submit an audition, maybe 100 or 150 or 200 voice actors have already submitted. So the competition level is incredibly high. That means that you need to be able to compete at that same level. So to your question of whether or not it would be worth it to invest in training, if that's something that you haven't made investments in already, then 100% you're going to want to invest in that training, because the voice actors that you're competing with on those P2Ps are very well trained. They're the best of the best. They've got the best demos. They've got the best coaching. They've got the best websites. We can have an argument or a debate about investing in your business and training and demos and websites. And I get a lot of pushback on that. There's a lot of people that think I don't need to have professional demos, or I can do it without professional demos, or I've done it. I've been doing it without professional coaching. Sure, you can. Of course you can. But if you want to compete at the higher level, if you want to compete at the next level, then you've got to do what the people that are up at that level are doing. And those people that are up at that level, they have the training, they have the demos, they have the website, they have all of that stuff. So I would say if you haven't done the training yet, or if you're not sure if you're submitting good enough, then it is absolutely worth it. Book a session with somebody like Brad Highland. He does some different coaching packages, and he would go through, one of the things you could do with Brad is he'll listen to your auditions and he'll say, yeah, you're where you need to be, or he'll give you tips on how you can improve your auditioning. And that can make a big difference as well. I've booked sessions like that in the past when I was using online casting. So that's the one thing I would say. The other thing I would say when it comes to online casting is you got to understand how the sites work, particularly Voice 123. Voice 123 is an algorithm-driven site. And so not only are you competing with top talent on that site, you're competing with an algorithm. And if you do not fully and completely understand how that algorithm works, you are going to struggle on that platform. And there's a notion out there that if you throw more money at the platform, that will make a difference, right? Oh, I paid $400, but it's not working, so I'm going to jump up to the $888 level. That is not how it works. Not at all how it works. And don't let anybody sell you on how that works. The algorithm is based on your audition. Basically, it's your audition to like ratio. If you're submitting a lot of auditions and you're not getting liked, it doesn't matter how much money you throw at the platform. You're going to struggle. You're going to end up in the lower percentiles. So regardless of what tier you're paying at, you need to have a certain percentage of likes to auditions submitted in order to stay competitive on the site and continue to see auditions in a timely fashion, not see them, the next day or after they're already closed or whatever. So I think there's a few things like that you need to understand about P2Ps, but I would always, always, always say you can never go wrong with an investment in additional coaching or additional training. Those are the types of investments that are always going to pay off if you are booking those sessions with the right people and training with the right people. What do you feel is the best subject line that will get your email opened by a potential client? If I actually had the answer to that question, I would probably be a multimillionaire and a retired former voice actor and business coach, because I could sell that and make bank. Unfortunately, I do not have the ultimate answer to that question. I wish that I could give you the ultimate answer to that question. I can tell you that I've done a podcast episode on that before. I want to say that it was episode 25. Hang on a second. Let me search it up. Subject lines, VOpreneur. Let's see. Nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. I'm literally Google searching my own podcast right now, trying to remember what episode that was. Subject lines. Here we go. Nope, not that one. Yep, episode 25. I was right. Look at that. I've quoted that episode so many times that I actually knew which episode it was. Subject lines. Here we go. I'm going to throw this in the chat for you, okay? If you want to give that episode a listen, plenty of tips in that episode that I think will be helpful for you when it comes to trying to figure out what the ultimate subject line is. I would say a couple of key things that you want to take into consideration. Most people today are reading their emails on their phones, and so shorter is better when it comes to subject lines, because you don't want a subject line that gets cut off or displays oddly on a phone. I think there are certain words that you need to watch out for that can trigger spam filters, things like free and marketing and all that sort of stuff. I think that you have to be very careful about being clickbaity, right? So it's okay to use a subject line that generates some intrigue or sparks some curiosity or something like that, but you don't want it to be misleading, because misleading subject lines obviously upset and annoy people, and they're much more likely to flip you into spam as well. I think some different strategies, and I talk a little bit more about this in the podcast: humor when it's appropriate, subject lines that generate curiosity, subject lines that speak to vanity. So for example, you could, if you notice that a company had won a certain number of awards, or they've been in business for a certain number of years, or they've worked with a certain client, you could mention something like that that kind of speaks to their vanity. Like they want to know, what do you have to say about our awards, or what do you have to say about our clients that we've worked with, or something like that. So those are some things that I would take into consideration. And then again, just check out that podcast. I think that's going to help. Duck cleaning phone calls. I think it's a Canadian thing. This is in reference to the podcast. Yes, it is. I've been offered duck cleaning services so often. And funnily enough, the other day I had to retrieve one of Kaylee's toys out of the floor vent in the living room. And so I pulled the register off and I reached down in to grab the toy, pulled my hand out, and I'm like, holy mackerel, we actually do need to get our ducks cleaned. The fact that I just said that on YouTube, I guarantee you I'm going to get 6 duck cleaning calls this weekend now. I probably never should have said that. But yeah, that's in reference something that I mentioned in the episode of the podcast that went up on Thursday. David says, in your opinion, Mark, can you make a substantial 6-figure voiceover income only doing VO without being a coach content creator? 100%. Absolutely, unquestionably, unequivocally, yes, David, you can make a 6-figure income only being a voice actor. But here's the caveat. You got to work your booty off, man. You got to work your booty off. When I was building my business, and I built my voiceover business to a 6-figure business, and I did it in 4 years. I was a single guy, so I had that going for me. Some days I was working 16 hours a day or more, because what the heck else was I going to do? I was full-time with nothing else to do. I didn't have a social life. Literally, I sat in my apartment all day and marketed. And then when I would try to do something different, like, sit and watch a show or read a book or something like that, I'd be looking at my computer over in the corner thinking, geez, why am I not sending emails right now? I could be totally sending emails right now. And so I was I was contacting sometimes 200 people a week while I was working to grow my business. Now, obviously, you don't have to go that extreme at it, but the point is, absolutely, you can earn that. I work with voice actors who are making 100, who are making 200. I work with a voice actor who's making 350, and they're only doing it off of voiceover, and a lot of it is coming from their direct marketing efforts. And so, yes, I think that it is absolutely possible. I think that a lot of voice actors, I'm going to get so burned for saying this, I think there are a lot of voice actors that you see who are starting to do coaching now because they're not earning in their voiceover business. And so they're going to try to supplement that through coaching because that's, for some people, they think it's easy money. Let me tell you right now, as somebody who coaches, it's not easy money. Like, good grief. I worked 7 days a week for 3.5 months to get Voiceover Marketing Playbook 3.0 online. Legitimately, 7 days a week. Most nights I went to bed between 1 and 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's not easy money if you're doing it and doing it well, but a lot of people don't understand that. So anyway, to your original question, 100% you can make a 6-figure income doing just voiceover. I think there are a few things you got to take into consideration. I think you got to have great training. I think you've got to have top-notch demos, and you've got to have several demos and genres that you can really easily go out and make money in. You can't just have like a commercial and a narration demo. I mean, I suppose you could, but it's going to be harder. So I think you got to have multiple demos so you can get multiple income streams. Voiceovers coming from multiple genres. You got to have a top quality website, and you've got to be willing to hustle. You've got to be willing to get out there every day, contacting 10 or 20 new people a day, every single day. Do it for a year or two, right? Do it for a year or two. Build that business up. Get that client base built. And then you can ease back on the email marketing because you've got a client base now, but don't give up on the email marketing, because the other thing you want to do is not become complacent where you've built a business and then you let it slide. So yes, you can build a 6-figure business still today, 100%. All right, let's talk JF. Speaking of podcasts, love the 5 Things one. Any suggestions on other short form podcasts? I'm a fan of short and to the point. Sometimes my podcasts, I admit it, they're not short and to the point. Are you talking voiceover podcasts specifically, or just podcasts in general? Because there's a lot of different podcasts that I listen to. Patrick says, hello from Bev's Table in Amsterdam. I saw the picture that you guys posted on Facebook. Glad you guys are having a great time while you are there enjoying that JMC Euro retreat. Hey, you want to be a 6-figure VO? JMC's a guy you might want to have a conversation with. Book for some coaching or for some demos or jumping in on one of his Euro retreats. Absolutely. If you got a question, again, that you would like to ask, feel free to type it into the comments. Just put a Q beside it so that it pops out on my screen. It helps me to find it as the comments are flying by. Here's one from Dave. I'm getting a demo produced in August, but I have a decent DIY demo. Is it a bad idea to use it in the meantime? Should I avoid it? Can it hurt? Will I likely be skipped over in the future? There's a lot to unpack here, Dave, and it's a really valid question. It's going to be tough for me to answer having not heard your demo, but I'm also not a demo producer, so I'm not a demo expert either. But what I will say is, I'll go back to what I was talking about with online casting. You're competing with the best of the best of the best. And with a lot of these people, when you're doing self-marketing, with a lot of these people, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And so if you send them a bad demo, you're going to have a lot harder time getting back on their radar again. Now, I don't know if your self-produced demo or DIY demo is bad. I have no idea. So I'm not judging you. I'm just telling you from experience, lots of times DIY self-produced demos are not great because we're not engineers. We're not studio techs. We're not demo producers. And so we may not know what's up on current trends. Have you directed yourself to, if you got a commercial demo that's got 6 reads, is it 6 different reads or is it 6 reads of the same note? Things like that make a huge difference. And things like that can make a huge impression. Is it something that you could try to throw up on a casting site and maybe try to still submit some auditions? Maybe. But would I want to send it out to a whole bunch of people? Again, it's going to depend on the quality of the demo. But knowing that if it's not great, you may have a more difficult time getting back on the radar again. So that's where it might be worth your while to have somebody listen to that demo and tell you what they think. And whether or not you're going to hurt yourself for not sending it out there. But again, remember, you're competing with the best of the best. And so is your demo going to measure up? Head to Voice123 and listen to demos from talent that you think are probably closely related to you as far as age and gender and vocal style and all of that. Listen to their demos. Does your demo measure up against their demos? That would be a way that you could kind of try to judge it for yourself as well. Imune. I apologize. I know I totally just butchered that. I am including snail mail in my marketing campaign. I love that. I'm having trouble locating physical addresses of agencies, etc. Any suggestions? You may not always be able to find it on their website, but you might be able to find it through Google searches because a lot of these companies may have a Google business listing. And in the Google business listings, sometimes they include their address. If they have a Facebook business page, sometimes they will have the address on their Facebook business page as well. And so that is potentially an option for finding addresses. You might be able to try to use a service like an Apollo.io. That might be a way that you could find some addresses as well. But I just want to point out, I think it's cool that you're doing snail mail. And the reason why is because nobody's doing snail mail anymore. Everybody's sending emails. Everybody's doing social media. Everybody's posting reels. Everybody's on LinkedIn. And so you got to be really good to cut through on those platforms and in those ways. And you could do it, obviously, 100%. But snail mail is something that not a lot of people are doing. And so it becomes a little bit easier to cut through the noise. Paul says, in Playbook, I've been stuck for some time on messaging, many iterations of copy that tells what I have to offer in a benefits-focused way. I think I finally nailed it. Good time for a consult. Yeah, we can absolutely talk about something like that, Paul. Take a look at it. Give you an outside perspective and set of eyes on it, of course. All right, let's see. Suzanne says, I will share this until I die. I went in at the 800 level, always asked for the like, took the pros course, did what they suggested, quickly fell to the bottom 10%, never booked a thing. And it's tough, right? There are people out there that tell you, you gotta be in at 888 in order to even have a chance. And it's just BS. Now, granted, I'm not on Voice 123. I'm not an expert on Voice 123, but from what I understand, the level that you buy in, it's a factor, but not as much of a factor as your audition to like ratio. The more auditions you submit that don't get liked, the further down you fall from, you go into the bottom percentiles. When you get into the basement percentiles, it becomes really tough in order to be able to book and to get yourself out of that basement as well. Stevie says, do you think there is validity in the cynicism, negativity towards the VO culture of branding and conferences? Is it a vaporware and best to focus on improving performance marketing, booking jobs? Okay, I want to make sure that I understand the question, Stevie. Are you saying, do I think that VO conferences are stupid or pointless? I know there's a lot of negativity around VO conferences. Do I think they're pointless or stupid? Or do I think that they're something that isn't worth investing in? No, that's complete and total horse crap. Legitimately horse crap. The people who have their panties in a twist over voiceover conferences, in my experience, are sometimes the people who aren't getting asked to speak at those voiceover conferences, and that's why they got their panties in a twist. But there's probably a reason why they're not getting asked to speak at voiceover conferences. I'm so getting burned for saying this too. I need an editor. I need a producer who can sit there and just bleep me out, take the broadcast offline when I start going on rants. Sometimes people ask questions that set me off. Look, voiceover conferences are an incredible learning opportunity if you take advantage of them as an incredible learning opportunity. If you're just going to go and socialize and hang out at the bar, then you're going to have an incredible social experience hanging out at the bar. If you go and you attend the sessions and you take notes and you participate, and you do something with everything that you learn, you will grow your business. That's one of the ways that I grew my business. I would love to be in a position where I could book coaching sessions or classes with every single reputable coach that's on my dream list to work with, but I'm not at that point. But for a few $100 at a voiceover conference, I can get in front of all of these people. I got to sit in on a Tina Marasco session at VO Atlanta. I only got to sit in on for about 25 minutes. That 25 minutes of Tina Marasco's session to me was worth the price of VO Atlanta on its own. If I had done nothing else all weekend, just the stuff that I picked up in 25 minutes of her session. And so you will get out of the conferences what you put into the conferences. If you go there to learn and you have a plan and you're attending the sessions and you're taking the notes and you're coming back home and you're doing the thing, your voiceover conference investment is going to pay for itself over and over and over and over again. And I 100% believe that. If I didn't believe it, I wouldn't be investing in these conferences myself. And yes, I'm going to these conferences as a speaker, but I still am money out of pocket when I got to go and pay for a hotel, pay for a flight, I pay for sponsorships, all these different things, but I do it because I know that it's worth it. Because even when I'm going to teach, I'm still going to learn. I want to try to attend some sessions and pick up some stuff because there's always something to learn. There's always a new trend on the horizon or a new technique that is going to result in booking. And so I think you can absolutely learn all of that stuff at conferences. And if that was totally off base from what your question was, Stevie, please clarify and I'll touch back on it again. But yeah, I think voiceover conferences are absolutely worth the investment. Veronica says, I've been doing lots of assisting voice actors with LG, and a lot of time my own direct marketing gets put on the back burner. Do you have suggestions to inspire me to do it on your own? My motivation is money. I don't know. I probably shouldn't say that, but it is. I'm a business guy. I do voiceover because I enjoy it, but I do voiceover because it's what pays the bills. I do voiceover because it's how I put a roof over my kid's head. I do voiceover because it's how I'm saving for their college fund. I do voiceover because it's how I'm ultimately saving for my retirement. And so I track my numbers. I track my numbers and I'm like, okay, did I make enough money this week? Nope. Okay, better do some more marketing. Did I make enough money this week? Yep, I did. Why? Because I did my marketing, so better go do some more marketing. And so I use that. And you know, that's not a motivator for everybody. And I totally respect that. But I do think that having a really strong why makes a difference. And this is something that I teach in Voiceover Marketing Playbook, the importance of having a why. Most people do not get excited about getting up in the morning and running down into the studio and sending marketing emails. It is not the thing that generally propels people out of bed. Waking up in the morning and seeing a booking and knowing that there's a check on the other side, that might get you out of bed and get you into the studio. But waking up to send 10 marketing emails, not a particularly motivating thing. So we need something else that will motivate us. We need a stronger why to drive us. So you've got to identify what that why is. For me, this year, this is going to be my family's first opportunity to go on a full, legit family vacation since 2019. We got shut down for a couple of years because of the pandemic. Really strong restrictions in Canada made travel next to impossible. Then the boo came along and that threw some travel plans off. So this year we're going on vacation and I want to have a legit, fun family vacation. I don't want to hold anything back. And so every day since January, I've been getting my butt into the studio and I'm not thinking about sending marketing emails. I'm thinking about all of the amazing experiences and memories that we're going to make on that family vacation. And that is a strong motivator for me. That's what gets me into the office. That's what gets me sending marketing emails. That's what gets me creating social media content. That's what gets me reaching out to past clients and prospects to bring myself top of mind again. Those are the things that drive me. And so that would be the one suggestion that I would have for you is figure out what your why is, something that is stronger than sending marketing emails and focus on that thing. Guys, if I could just take a minute, I appreciate you watching. If you would do me a favor while you're watching, if you would flip that thumbs up button, I would love that. If you could give me a thumbs up, give me a like on the YouTube stream, and subscribe to the channel too, by the way, if you haven't done it already, so you can get notified anytime I go live. I try to go live every Friday. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but if you're subscribed to the channel, you'll be able to get notified when that happens. But thank you for the thumbs up. Ryan says, as a part-timer with a full-time job, I'm looking at hiring a freelancer to curate genre-specific lead lists. What's your recommendation for what to look for in a collaborator without wasting money? Okay, Ryan, this is a great question. There are lead generation experts out there that can do this for you all day long. The trick is they will only do as good of a job as you teach them to do. So if you put out a post on a site like Freelancer or Upwork and you say, I need a lead generation expert to help me find voiceover leads, they're going to come back to you with a list of 100 different voice actors. And you're going to be like, what the heck is this? So in order for that relationship to work, a big part of it is going to fall on you and your ability to train them. So giving them very specific instructions, very specific guidelines. This week, I want to focus on e-learning, and we're going to do Google searches for e-learning production companies, and the job titles that we're looking for are instructional designers or e-learning developers. We're going to focus on these states, or we're going to focus on these regions. I'm looking for actual names and actual contact email addresses. I'd like you to be able to find social media profiles for TikTok and Instagram and LinkedIn and YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, whatever. You got to give them very specific instructions. And then let's say you're going to hire them to find 100 leads for you. Start with 5 or 10, right? Tell them, I'm hiring you for 100. But I want you to send me the first 5 or the first 10. And then you can look at those leads and you can assess them. These leads are great, and here's why. These leads are not great, and here's why. Clarify your instructions with them, and then go back at it. But it's going to take some time to train somebody up. So keep that in mind. Now, if you're looking for a little bit of a shortcut to all of this, then maybe check out a service like VA for VO. VA for VO, who I've had Bridget and I've had Miranda on Free Advice Friday and on the podcast as well. It's a service where voice actors work for other voice actors, as I say virtual assistants, they say voiceover adjacent. So think of it like this. There's a voice actor who's maybe trying to build up their voiceover business, but they're not quite there yet. They need to make a little money. So they work as a virtual assistant for a more established voice actor to help with lead generation, email, social media, blog writing, whatever. So if you look at a service like VA for VO, you might be able to have a little bit easier time with the training curve, only because those are voice actors who are, those are voice actors who are going to be doing that work for you. And so they may be able to, they may already be doing lead generation. They may already do it for their own business. And so then it becomes a little bit less of a learning curve. Let me just bring this up. This is VA for VO is the website here. It's just VA4 spelled out FOR, VO.com, VA for VO.com. You can sign up either as a voice actor looking to hire somebody for voiceover adjacent services, or you can sign up as a voiceover adjacent service provider and have an opportunity to work for other voice actors. So that might be something that you want to look for as well. VA for VO. And no, this is not a paid endorsement. I just think they got a cool service going on, and so I like to tell people about it. All right, let's see. Ann says, launched my new podcast. I can see how it can also promote my VO business at the same time. Would love your thoughts of ideas to promote that you used to get your podcast out there when you started. Obviously, take advantage of social media as much as possible. Sharing the links on social media, using the appropriate hashtags. So who's the audience that you're trying to reach, and what are the hashtags that audience is probably using? And so then you share your podcast using those appropriate hashtags. I think that's part of it. I think that it's also okay to share your podcast more than once. And I think that's something that a lot of people do is I already tweeted it out once. Okay, but on Twitter, you get 5% organic reach. So that means 5% of your audience saw that post initially. So, a day or two later, if you want to tweet it out again, write a different tweet, right? But you can tweet it out again. So tweet it out 3 or 4 times or 5 times in a week or whatever. And it's not gonna hurt anything. So sharing it across all of your social media, I think, is a big deal. Having a website for your podcast can be really helpful, particularly if you've got even a basic understanding of SEO. That can certainly make a difference. Trying to get established within your niche is a big one. And I'll tell you, one of the smartest things that I ever did for my podcast, which I was really hesitant about in the beginning, just because of the amount of work that it was going to take, was I started doing interviews. And when I started doing interviews, that made a big difference, because now I can promote the podcast to my audience, but my interview guest is going to promote the podcast to their audience as well. And so that's double the promotion at that point. And those interview guests have built-in followings already lots of times. And so people are just automatically going to gravitate towards listening because of who the guest is on the show. Not everybody wants to listen to me talk all day, every day, right? And so it's good to have somebody else on every once in a while. So I think that having interview guests can make a big difference as well in helping you to grow. And the other thing is, don't don't write off the possibility of doing some paid promotion either. I ran some YouTube ads for my podcast in the beginning, just to promote the fact that the show was out there and try to drive some initial subscribers. And so, that's another possibility that helps you get in front of more people in a hurry. And like Facebook advertising is not that expensive right now. The cost per clicks are way down because of the fact that, a lot of advertisers are holding off and budgets are changing and we're, still fearing recession and all of that sort of stuff. So I think it's another option that you might want to look into. Ella says, what do you think about the growing need for audio description voiceovers? Do you think it's a good genre to focus on? I think there's a lot of different places where there are opportunities, and audio description could certainly be one of those. I think it takes the right kind of person to be able to do it. But certainly I think that's a genre worth exploring if it's something that you're interested in. A lot of people are freaking out about AI coming in and taking over everything. Maybe it's going to. I don't know. What I do know is that it hasn't yet. And so, I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. The genres that I have the ability to do and that I have the ability to do well, I am going to work my hind parts off to make as much money in those genres as humanly possible for as long as I can, until such a time as maybe AI does replace it. I know people talk about AI replacing things like audiobooks, e-learning, possibly even replacing audio description, but hasn't done it yet. So go make the money. Go make the money while you still have the opportunity to make the money. That's what I'm doing anyway. That's what I'm trying to do. All right, let's see. Where else are we going? Again, if you've got questions that you want to ask and get answered, you can type those questions in the comments. Just put a Q beside it, and I will I'll see it when it pops up on my screen. And I do apologize if I'm missing questions. I'm trying to keep up with them. There's a lot of conversation going on in the chat today. Julie says, I went to MAVO. That was my first conference one and met so many amazing people, took a few great sessions. Also, I would not have all the connections I have today without it. And that's it, right? It goes back to what I said before. You will get out of the conference what you put into the conference. And I think if you're going there to learn, there are countless opportunities to learn. Look, all these amazing top tier coaches are not flying from all across the country to just come and hang out and have a beer with you. Not to say that they won't, but they're there to teach you. They're there to help you. So go to bed on time, get your butt out of bed in the morning, plan out your schedule, go to the sessions, get a return on your conference investment. This is your advice. This is what I have for you. Norin says, hello, Mark. I'm currently in a visit to San Francisco, San Diego, and LA, and I want to reach out to possible agents or studios to meet up. Do you have advice for emails and approaching them? I think you just let them know that you're there. I mean, when it comes to agents, you got to make sure that your agent ready, right? I mean, it's nice if you're there and you have the opportunity to meet out with them in person. I don't know you. I don't know where you're at in your business, but you definitely want to make sure that you're ready, especially in the West Coast market, right? LA agents aren't just going to sign anybody. They want to know that you are established. They want to know that you are working. They want to know that you're booking and you are bookable. And if you can prove all of that to them, then, there might be an opportunity for you to reach out and express an interest in meeting with them. With studios, I think there's nothing wrong with reaching out to a studio and saying, hey, I'm in the area, and would it be all right if I drop by? I'd love to be able to just tour the facilities or introduce myself or whatever. I think that's an email that you don't need to overthink. Liz says, disclaimer, I helped organize 4 VOvo conferences, but I always learn a lot from all the conferences I attend. Also, I get the referrals from fellow VOs that I met at the conferences all the time. 100%. Look, somebody's always got a poo-poo on the parade, okay? I just said poo-poo on YouTube. Somebody's always got a poo-poo on the parade. There's always somebody who's going to be butthurt because they didn't get invited or they don't get to speak or they couldn't go or whatever the case may be. Don't listen to those people. Do you think 1,000 people show up at VO Atlanta because it stinks? No. Do you think 1,000 people show up at VO Atlanta and spend $1,000 to be there by the time they pay for their conference and their hotel and their travel and whatever because everybody's just got $1,000 they can flush down the toilet? No. We're going because there's incredible learning opportunities at these conferences if you take advantage of those incredible learning opportunities. Stevie says, besides yourself, who do you think are 2 or 3 quality VO business marketing consultants? Ann Ganguza, Tom Deere. I would say you can't go wrong having a conversation with Ann Ganguza or Tom Deere. I think both of them are amazing. Tom has been on Free Advice Friday before. If you If you scroll back through my YouTube channel, you'll find the interview, or Tom did a 1-hour session with me on Free Advice Friday, so you could absolutely go back and watch that as well. But yeah, Tom and Ann, I think both are amazing. Briscoe VO says, if you listen to Tina Marasco, it will absolutely help you in your voiceover career. She's a great teacher. 100%. 100%. Thanks, guys, for all the questions. This is amazing. I am trying to keep up. I appreciate you guys all watching. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for the subscribes. I'm grateful for that. Let me just mention, if you haven't done it already, I've got a free resource that is on the website at VOpreneur.com. It's called 12 Tips for Marketing Your Voiceover Demo. You can sign up and get that download, a free PDF that's going to give you some different suggestions for ways that you can get your demos out there. So check that out at VOpreneur.com/12 demo tips. It's VOpreneur.com/12 demo tips. And again, that is a completely free resource. Raphael, just got my first commercial demo produced by Scott Burns. Not sure where to go from here. Complete beginner on marketing myself. Looking to book for the first time in the coming months. All right, Raphael. Well, hey, start with the free resource that I just mentioned on the website there at VOpreneur.com/12 demo tips. So here's what you're doing. You got a commercial demo. You need to find the companies that are doing commercial creation. So that could be that you go through advertising agencies, because those are the people that are coming up with the creatives for the commercials. It could be that you are looking for production companies, production houses, the companies that actually shoot, edit, produce the commercials. So you want to find those people and you want to reach out to those people. And it can be really overwhelming at first if you do a search. I mean, hey, let's do it right now. Let me just pull this up on my screen. So let's do a search for commercial production companies, United States. Let's just do this for the fun of it. Okay, so commercial production companies in the United States. So what is that? 1,540,000,000. So that can feel a little overwhelming at first. So what you might want to do is just narrow that down to, narrow it down to a state, wherever you live. I don't know, let's just say commercial production companies in Texas. Well, there's only 90 million. But now you can start to focus on an area. Let me you can look at Google Maps and just kind of work your way out from there. But looking for those types of production companies, and then you're probably looking for, you might be looking for a creative director, you might be looking for a producer or executive producer, and you want to reach out and try to get them to listen to your demo. And if you got a great demo, your demo should do a lot of the selling for you. I think it's also important that you have a great website. When I'm doing my email marketing, I'm reaching out to companies and directly and inviting them to go to my website so that they can listen to my demos, but then they can also find out a lot of other information about me. So there's a good starting point for you. I mean, if you want to dive deeper into that, also there's plenty of great resources on the website at VOpreneur.com. Some free stuff, some paid stuff, lots of free stuff on the podcast, tons of free advice on this YouTube channel. If you scroll back through the archives, all I do is business and marketing, but that would certainly give you a place to start. Could you suggest good web developers to help me launch my website? Yeah, I think there's voice actor websites would certainly be one of the first places that I would suggest. Joe and Karen, they are amazing. They've probably built half the 3/4 of the 80% of the voiceover websites that are out there on the internet today. So I think that would certainly be one place that you would want to look at. And I'm going to find here, Nadine Charlson. I recently had her on Free Advice Friday, and she is a website developer, offered tons of great advice. Let me just put a link in the chat for that one. There, I just threw that link in the chat as well, so you could check out Nadine and learn a little bit more about her and learn a little bit more about the services that she offers. She would be another person who would absolutely be worth checking out. So Center Stage Design is Nadine's company. So voice actor websites or Center Stage Design. All right, let's see. Where else are we going? Things are happening fast and furious in the chat over here. Okay, I lost my spot. Coming back. Here we go. All right. Briscoe VO says, Mark, do you use a lawyer like Rob to go over your contracts? I have had Rob look at stuff for me before. I have had to hire Rob for certain things in the past before. I'm at a point now where I can look over a contract. I just read a 9-page contract yesterday, 2 nights ago, which seriously, just like, if you have trouble sleeping, if you have insomnia in any capacity whatsoever, just sit down and read a voiceover contract. 9 pages. I would say 8 2/3 of the pages were completely unnecessary because it's just lawyer speak that I swear to God, even the lawyers don't understand. But I'm able to read through that and kind of pick out on things that I'm not too sure about. And then I can reply back to the company and say, hey, what about this? And I just did that today. I just had to respond back to a company with something that I picked up in the contract. And so I think there comes a point where you've read them enough that you kind of know what to look for. Most of them use the same language anyway. But if you're ever uncertain, you could certainly have somebody like Rob take a look. Or if you have an agent, a lot of agents are offering that as kind of a value add service now. Like one of my agents in particular, I can reach out to them, and for a small fee, they will do a contract consultation or assist with an agreement or a negotiation or whatever. And so some of them are willing to do stuff like that. So they're not actually getting the job and the commission, but you might be able to pay them a flat rate to help you go through a contract. Ann says, podcast show notes, are they necessary, and is there an easy way to do them? Yes and no. That is my answer to that. Yes, they are 100% necessary. No, there is not an easy way to do them that I have found yet. The reason why they're necessary is I think that there's value in them for SEO, for one thing. I think that some people will kind of peruse show notes. I think the more in-depth your show notes are, the better, which I fully admit is one area where I dropped the ball. My show notes are definitely not as involved and in-depth as they could be. Probably the easiest way to make that happen, if you want an easy way to do it, would be to hire somebody else to do it for you. But yeah, they absolutely are something that is necessary. All right, let's see. As a VO already booking work and having repeat clients looking to scale, who are the best people to be networking with at conferences? Meet everyone, or are there specific relationships to build? I mean, it depends on what kind of conference you're talking about. If you're at a voiceover conference, there's nothing wrong with networking with other voice actors. I hire voice actors every once in a while. I've had voice actors refer me. Liz, who's watching Free Advice Friday and made a comment earlier, she referred me this morning for something, which was amazing. And so, that's one of the advantages, because, hey, you're not the right fit for every job. And so I have voices that can do, I got male voices, female voices. I got Spanish and French and German and all, whatever. So that if my client comes looking for something specific, I can make a referral. So I would say definitely there's value to networking with other voice actors, but there's also something to be said for the opportunity with some of these conferences to get in front of an agent or get in front of a casting director, sit in on one of their sessions. If you have the opportunity to do a read for them, don't walk up to these people and hand them your business card and be like, hey, are you signing anybody today? But certainly it can be a place to start a relationship and get on their radar. And I think there's definitely some value in that. All right, let's see. Where else are we going? I am trying to keep up with your questions. Who are the top 3 to 5 commercial VOs who book consistently highest paid work? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, honestly, because when it comes to commercials, there are voice actors that might only book one national commercial every 2 or 3 years, and there might be some people who are booking a couple of spots every year. So I think it's probably, I don't know exactly how you would determine that. Maybe going through iSpot and looking, that might be the easiest way, is maybe not to determine who those people are based on whether or not they're making the most money, but when you hear commercials on TV and you're like, I wonder who did that, find out through iSpot TV who did it, and then you can look them up and learn a little bit more about them that way. That might be an option for you. All right, let's see. What else is going on here? You said that I need to prove that I'm booking. How do you think I can prove to the prospect agencies that I'm booking without flooding their inbox with samples? I still do not have a website. I would not be reaching out to any agents without a website, honestly, because it's probably the first thing that they're going to do. They're gonna want to go to your website and they're gonna want to look at your website. So I would say until you are in a position where you've got a website online, the reality is in 2023, if you don't have a website, it's like, are you even real? right? And I'm not saying that to you specifically. I don't take that in the wrong way, but I mean, what's the very first thing you do if you want to hire a plumber or a electrician or a mechanic or a website developer or whatever, name it. You want to hire somebody for something. What's the very first thing you do? You do a Google search. And what is the first process of elimination from that Google search? The ones that have websites and the ones that don't. I mean, I can do a search for, I recently was looking for somebody to do some pest control. And when I did the search, it came up with about 10 different pest control companies in my neighborhood or in my area, but only about 4 of them actually had websites. And so those 4 were the ones that I checked out. I didn't even consider the other ones because they didn't have a website. I can't verify, I could phone them, but when I phone them, of course, they're going to tell me that they're great. I want to be able to go onto their website and learn a little bit more about them. And so I think that's just the nature of culture in 2023 is our first instinct always is to just Google. And so I would say that getting a website, I think, should be a priority for you at this point. Look at this. We got a bilingual French throwdown going on in the chat over here. Annie says, step aside, I'm bilingual French and English. Yeah, Annie, you don't get the job, though, because you harassed me about the holes in my wall. So you don't get the job. It goes to Liz because Liz doesn't harass me about the holes in my wall. By the way, guys, what do you think of let me try to aim my thumbs here. What do you think of the holes in my wall? They're still there. Now it's just like a game. I'm just leaving them there. It's just become fun. Here's another one. English, French today. Look at that. You guys are taking over. You're coming in and taking over. All right. What do we got? Oh my goodness, guys. That went fast. Look at that. We're like 9 minutes to the top of the hour. That was crazy. Anton says, tuning in from Lisbon. Speaking of websites, I'm working with Nadine Charleston right now, and I do recommend her. So there you go. There's a thumbs up for Nadine. Again, that Center Stage Design. If you want to check that out, check out her website. The holes absolutely must stay now. Yes, they absolutely must. All right, guys, I want to mention, too, for those of you, we've been talking a little bit about, obviously, giving out some marketing advice. Some people have been asking some questions about what do I even do? Where do I even start? How do I reach out? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I am doing another introductory email workshop. This one is coming up on June the 6th. It's going to happen at 7 o'clock Eastern time. The first 2 workshops that I did sold out pretty quickly. So I've added a third date. So this workshop is about a 2-hour class. It's limited to 10 voice actors. I'm going to teach you the essentials of what goes into a great marketing email. Then you're going to have an opportunity to send me your marketing email, and I'll give you some real-time feedback during the workshop. And then the final segment of the workshop, I'm going to throw a voiceover lead up on the screen. You're going to get an opportunity to write an email to that voiceover lead and then send that email to me. I will give you, again, feedback and critique on the email that you've written so that you're ready to go and ready to send. And by the end of the workshop, you should have an email template that you can use over and over and over again. There's still, I think, 5 spots left in this particular workshop. So if you're interested, the details are at VOpreneur.com. You'll see it right on the home screen at VOpreneur.com. So that is the introductory email workshop, June 6th, happening from 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. Eastern. Just frame the holes. I probably could actually. You know what? Maybe I could go out into the shop. I've got some scrap wood out in the shop right now. I could just run it through the router table, give it a pretty edge or whatever, and literally just build a frame right around the holes. The worst part is you only see the big ones because that one's there. There's a hole there. There's a hole there. There's a hole there, right? And then on this side, there's a hole there. There's a hole there. There's a hole there. And then if you go up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 holes up higher as well. And honestly, the reason why I haven't patched them at this point is because it means I'm going to have to repaint the whole entire wall. And I just have not got the time to do that. And so, whatever. They just add character and a conversation point to the broadcast, basically. All right, let's see. How much does pretty fun branding on a website impact a direct marketing buyer's decision to collaborate or not? I don't think it's a question of is the branding fun as much as it's a question of is the branding accurate? Is the branding compelling? Does the branding speak to who you actually are and what you actually deliver? And I think those are some of the things that you need to take into consideration if you're going to be building out a brand. And look, branding is hard. I'm really looking forward to having Celia Siegel on the podcast. We were supposed to have an interview this week, but unfortunately she had to cancel due to a scheduling conflict. But when she gets on the podcast, we're going to dive deeper into this because it's part of what I've been dealing with right now with VOpreneur, working on a rebrand for VOpreneur. And I even booked a coaching session with Celia to talk about it a little bit further. And I read the book as well. I just threw the link in the chat for the book. If you haven't checked it out, Voice Over Achiever, it's amazing. It'll give you so many questions to ask yourself that will get you thinking about branding. And so there's absolutely there's absolutely something to that. But yeah, I do think that having a well thought out brand can make a big difference versus, just having a plain old white website with some text and some pictures and stuff like that. And there's a lot that goes into branding, right? It is a logo, it's a tagline, it's colors, it's the vibe, the overall vibe in how you present yourself. It's using consistent messaging and there's so much more that goes into a brand, things that we don't always necessarily think about. And I don't think that there's anybody that can lay it out better than Celia. And so I would say to check out that book if you haven't done it already. Again, just a reminder about the latest episode of the podcast, 5 things to understand about email marketing. This was a really great episode. I got a little passionate at times in this episode, as you saw in Free Advice Friday. Sometimes when you get me going on a certain subject, I get a little bit passionate. But email marketing there's such an incredible opportunity for you as a voice actor to build your business with email marketing. But not enough voice actors take advantage of it because they got all of these excuses and all of these stories around email marketing. And most of those stories just aren't true. And so I try to bust a couple of those myths, help you get over some of those fears and face some of those challenges in that latest episode of the podcast. So that's available at VOpreneur.com again, or wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. Liz says, Celia worked with me on my rebranded website. It really does work your brain. I'm very happy with the results. Yeah, if you actually go through the process with Celia, like holy mackerel, be ready for homework. Even if you just go through the book, if you're going to do the book legitimately, be ready for homework. But you need it, right? You need to go through those exercises. You need to think through some of those things in order to help you put together what your brand is ultimately going to be and how that is ultimately going to look. Again, a reminder for those of you that maybe jumped in a little bit late, the replay is available as soon as this is done. I will go back through and add chapter markers to some of the specific questions that were answered and some of the things that we talked about, but the replay will be available on the YouTube channel. You can always go back and watch past episodes of Free Advice Friday. They're all there. I've got them curated in a Free Advice Friday playlist, so make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give me a like on the live stream. If you're watching right now, I would certainly appreciate that as well. And that helps to bump the video up in the algorithm on YouTube a little bit, helps some other people to find some of this advice that we're giving out on Free Advice Friday. Are you able to share if you're doing any breakout sessions in the topic for MAVO? Yeah, I can tell you, I think I'm up for 3 sessions, or no, 2 sessions and a panel, I think is what I'm doing at MAVO. Val and we just signed the contract. I haven't quite worked it all out yet. I am going to be doing one of the premium, I think it's like a 3-hour intensive or something like that. So I am going to be doing that. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm doing. I haven't fully decided yet, but I'll tell you one of the ideas that I'm tossing around is a session that I would call From Search to Send. And basically it would be a walkthrough of finding a lead, getting their contact information, writing them a really great email, sending that email, and what happens next. And so From Search to Send is, I don't know, it's an idea that popped into my head about 3 o'clock in the morning one night when I couldn't sleep. But that's one of the ideas that I'm thinking about for a MAVO session. I'm supposed to do some kind of panel. My guess is it's going to be a marketing panel. Although if she wants to do a barbecue, brisket, and ribs panel, I would certainly be happy to sit on that panel as well and talk about brisket and ribs at MAVO. And then I will be doing some sort of general session. Not 100% sure what that's going to be yet, but it's probably going to be something to do with marketing. Any chance of you doing the workshop at a different time at a future date? I'd sign up for that. Yeah, I do offer a daytime workshop, and I just did a daytime. Actually, the daytime workshop is coming up next week. It's at 1 o'clock Eastern, 1 p.m. Eastern, but that one's sold out already. So watch for it, because I try to rotate them back and forth. I try to do a day one and I try to do an evening one. And so the day one is already sold out, but I will probably be doing one. I'm probably not going to do another email workshop now. Maybe it'll be later in the year. We'll see. I mean, if this one sells out really fast, the one that's up for June 6th, if it sells out really fast, it's about halfway sold out now. Maybe I'll throw one more date in and do a daytime one. But if I do decide to do anything, you'll be able to find the information on the website at VOpreneur.com. So make sure you're checking back regularly at VOpreneur.com. All right, guys, thank you so much. Man, I appreciate you coming and hanging out with me and spending an hour with me. And I'm so grateful that you guys give me time every week. It's crazy to me that you want to hang out every week. And so I hope that I make it worth your while. I always do my best to try to answer as many questions as possible and dispense as much advice as possible and try to give good advice as much as possible. Try to make the show fun and something that's worth hanging out with. And so, have lunch with me on a Friday afternoon, bring a sandwich and a Dr. Pepper, and, we'll hang out. We'll do some Free Advice Friday. Let me look at my schedule. I know next weekend's a long weekend for you guys in the States. But I do have Free Advice Friday on my calendar for the 26th. So hopefully we will be able to do it again. It's a long weekend for me this weekend. So I'm looking forward to that, as long as it doesn't snow. Temperature went below freezing 2 nights ago. I'm like, what the heck? It's May. How long is this going to go on for? But hey, welcome to life in Canada. All right, guys, thank you so much again. Whatever you decide to do this weekend, have fun, stay safe, and as always, go find some leads.